agenda. A mover to adopt the agenda, please. Tom, thank you. Randy, we don't need a seconder. All in favor? Thank you. Agenda is adopted. Minutes of May 3rd meeting. A mover to adopt the agenda, please. Tom, okay, we all set? Okay, minutes of May 3rd meeting. All right, could we have are there any changes, deletions, or additions to the minutes? Seeing none. All right, mover to adopt the minutes of the May 3rd meeting, please.
So moved.
Michael, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Minutes are adopted. Financial invoices for payment. Tom, do you have anything that's outstanding?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
No, nor do I. We'll talk about, when we get to the website, we'll talk about that part of it, okay? Sale of Beaver Dam's books, I don't think we have anything there. New business, 13 St. David Street West. If you recall, this is the building across from Maplehurst. We were asked to write our own heritage impact statement on that, which was forwarded to the planning department. I've heard nothing since then about what's happening with the building. I assume that we didn't have many large concerns about it, but I'm sure that our impact will have some type of, that our ideas will have some type of impact on the build itself. And if you recall, it's going to be sitting sideways on the lot, so it's really not that intrusive at the one end, the north end. More about that perhaps next term. Properties, Beaver Dams Church, Marlatz Road. Joe, anything to report on that?
I wasn't able to attend the meeting Wednesday, and I was hoping that Linda would be able to report, but evidently with her being absent, there's nothing to report on that.
Okay, they had their strawberry social and their yard sale a couple of weeks ago, and they had the building open again. I was talking to Dave about it. And things are moving along. The first drywall crew has dropped out of the bid, but a second drywall crew has taken over the task, which will not be an easy task, drywalling a vaulted ceiling that's that high. But anyway, they're going to be starting with that and dealing with the accordion lath, right, which they have to smooth out before they can apply the drywall. So not an easy job, which I think is probably in the $40,000 range. Joe, is that the case?
Yeah, but they bumped up the amount that they've set aside to give them some wiggle room, and I think they're looking at about 50,000.
50,000. Okay.
Yeah. Big
job. So we're looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like. The Fernie house, we haven't heard anything from the Fernie house people. Actually, the Fernies. Actually, Ms. Fernie lives there with her husband, but we hope in the future that'll happen. Installation of history plaques. We're still waiting for those. Tom, have we found out where they are? The Stone Store and the Adobe House.
We have four stands. I didn't.
What about the plaques?
Didn't receive any information from the city. They said they didn't have anything else for us.
Well, with the Adobe House and plaque is there, I'm sure. But anyway, the Stone Store is covered under the new plaquing. I'll talk about plaques now. Our replacement plaques, because of fading, I spoke to McGee, and they can't get to them till the end of July. They were heavily into graduation season, he said. I was hoping he would do them in May, but he assures me that the last week in July, he will be coming around and doing replacements on those plaques that have faded. And they're going to be going right over top. So I will know what happens because one of them is going to be our house. They're also doing the post office, the old post office downstairs, or downtown, I should say, not downstairs, downtown, and the fire hall downtown is being done. And so we'll know those are the large plaques, but that should be done. They're already paid for. He assured me they would take care of that. Okay, any questions about that? No, I think there are probably 10 that we are replacing right now. Downtown Facade Committee, there hasn't been a meeting. I'm not sure if we have a planner assigned to that yet. But we haven't had a meeting. We haven't been called for a facade. You can see that the old Royal Bank is being changed, right? Ongoing work. And that work is a reflection of the facade, part of the facade grant that was given to them. Okay, Tourism Advisory Committee.
No, we didn't have a meeting. There was no quorum for it.
Okay, at this time, and it kind of twigs my memory on this, I'm going to put this in here. I was called to a meeting at the library, as was Randy, regarding a digitization of heritage and historical assets in Thorold. All right. I probably should have put this in as a new item, but let's talk about it here because the tourism people were present as well. What the library is intending to do is to digitize as much of our paper as we have. Okay. Now, I suggested to them that our filing cabinets, which are at the Mayholm Center, it's not necessary to digitize those, but that our reports on our heritage buildings, which they have at the library, would be great for digitization. People then could look up any house that's designated online. We've lost at least 4 reports over the years that have been taken from the library. So that was what we said. I think that I knew that would meet with your approval. We don't have much other in the way of paper. However, they've done the Fred Campbell collection already. All right. I assume that sometime they might do the Esther Summers collection, which most of it's at Mayholm. Randy was there. Randy, else, do you want to talk about what you might be able to help them with?
Well, as far as the museum is concerned, I know Joanne initially talked about newspapers. Like the library, the museum has quite an extensive collection of those. And what we're looking to do is try and put together as complete and comprehensive a newspaper record as possible in digital form. A lot of Thorold posts have already been digitized. Thorold News and some of the other Thorold papers really haven't been touched. So that would sort of be the launch point of the project. But then as we talked, we really came to the conclusion, why do we need to stop there? So we would be getting into all of our other written records, assessment rolls, deeds, maps, photographs, basically anything relevant to Thorold history and heritage would be fair game. Even doing quality digital photographs of the artifacts and so forth we have in the collection, and broadening it out to any other heritage related groups ultimately down the road, or even individuals in Thorold who have extensive collections of their own that they want to share online. So the sky's really the limit, but the opening would be to look at the Thorold LACAC designation reports and newspapers would be sort of where we'd start, and then we'd go from there.
I'm not sure whose phone that is, but it's not mine.
Not mine.
Not mine.
Okay.
I'm afraid it's
Okay.
mine, but it's been answered. So
Okay, that's good. Okay. Yes, what spurred this was that there's a need for this to happen. Obviously, the library feels this, but there's also grant money available. And so Joanne, the chief head librarian, is going to be applying for a grant for the digitization to begin. She's borrowing a large scale scanner from the Niagara Falls Library, which will really help in the scanning process. And hopefully there will be a grant money available for university students, for example, to assist in the scanning of materials. We also talked about, in the digitization aspect, even interviews with people. For example, our own Mr. Tom Russell here, who was being an expert on the city, on the town of former town of Port Robinson, and doing interviews with people like Tom and John Burtniak, for example, on specific aspects of Thorold, so that is a record that the library would have in perpetuity. And people there seem to be quite keen on that idea as well. So what we're doing now, what they are doing now is what we all thought was a good idea, where it's some baby steps, starting with things that can be successful. All right, and moving on. The newspapers are one, obviously it's an easy one to do, and moving on from there into the future. So, yeah, I mentioned that the new museum in Jordan, all right, if you haven't visited, it's an interesting place. It's not a huge building. They can only put on display so many artifacts. So they have in fact digitized their entire collection. All right, so they're all of the furniture and so on is available to be viewed online. And they've gone so far actually as to reproduce all their fractors, all right, their German fractors that were in their collection, book plates, etc. And they have been reproduced, and they're available to be seen in person under glass, but the originals are all in vaults below the museum, I'm sure, and also can be seen online. So they've taken some big strides in that regard. I think that's probably where museums are going to end up. But it's nice to be able to actually see things three-dimensional. Randy and I were talking about that. It doesn't supplant the need for a museum. You still need a museum, but the library can house a lot of this material and people can access it from their homes. So I think it's a great progress, a great idea, and it's a good step in progressing towards what should have happened probably a long time ago. Any comments or input on that? No. All right, we'll let you know if anything else in the future happens with that. Okay, review of heritage inventory. Monroe House, well, Megan, you don't know this because you just arrived, but the Monroe House has been on our list for about, I would say, 2 terms, at least 8 years. There's an internal designation of the Monroe House, which is a designated property on Ormond Street. And the owners of the Monroe House are on our committee. They aren't with us now, but there are some internal designations that are to be removed. And so it's something that the planning department has on its list of things to get to. Battle of Beaver Dams Park. Hopefully you had a chance to tour the park during the festivities this past weekend. I went through it 2 or 3 times. I tell you, I was impressed. I hope the rest of it you went through were impressed. I really like the fountain that they have, which shows the canal lock system through Thorold. It's a flat table type of fountain, and some great things have been done. It's on our list because we had talked about approaching the city again after the work had been completed for potential heritage designation for the park, in that it is one of the channels for the second and third Welland canals, and a lock from the third Welland canal has been partially excavated in front of the bandstand. So it's something we can talk about with the city during the next term. Are we okay with that?
Yep.
We've spoken about it many times. Okay. DeQ Terrace subdivision on DeQ Road, it continues to be developed. The Eller House in Vine Street, again, haven't heard anything from those letters that I dropped off. I don't suspect that we will. Okay, vision discussion, we won't have to talk about that today. That would be for the next term. Hopefully when we're in, my dream is that the next term will actually be in person. All right, I think we're heading towards that as soon as city council can meet in person. And some city councils are actually doing that now. Then I think the gates are open for us to be able to do that. Website. One of the reasons we wanted to meet today was to discuss the website. And what we've been waiting for is the okay from the website provider that the photographs have been taken and that he is going to be able to continue working on the website. Any word on the photographs, Joe? You know anything about that?
Yeah, I did get, after Ray sent me his regrets, he did forward another email and said that he has some photographs that he's going to forward to Mark for his okay.
Just some?
Some.
Okay. My concern also was this: Mark cannot be paid until everything arrives to him and he does the work. Now, if he hasn't started doing the work yet, I guess we don't have to worry about it too much, but I was hoping we would have that out of the way and that we could continue on with the website change. So anyway, all right. This will be the last meeting of our term. There's not much we can do until next January when the committee meets again, whoever happens to be on the committee at that particular time. That will be something that will continue with that. So what we will do is remind Linda and Ray that those photographs need to be done and shipped off to him. And hopefully by January, then we would have the work completed where he could invoice us and we could pay him for that. Anything else about the website?
Well, I might just want to add, Craig, that Joanne indicated to me that there was the potential to have an August meeting if 75% of the incumbent council are going to run for re-election. So if we can put some pressure on Ray and Linda to get the photographs to Mark so he could have the website done by the end of July, we may be able to hold a special meeting in August to clear that financial obligation. Am I correct, Megan?
That sounds correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So hopefully we can get Ray and Linda to forward. We still have a little window where we can get this out of the way. I personally feel it's not fair to Mark to make him wait till January for his payment, but we do have some representatives that are a little slow in stepping up to the plate and getting their share of the work done.
Would you like to then, I think that's fine. Would you like to then send them a message saying that we have to have it done within the next couple of weeks so that Mark can do it?
I'll forward something just to, put a poker under their butts and get them moving.
Well, yeah, that's one way of saying it. Thank you. If that's the case, then we'll talk about the meeting time. If we want to do one in August, what would be a good time for people to meet? Because we can't call a meeting if we can't have the people here. And that's good.
Is August the 19th the last day that the councilors have to register for the election? I believe August the 19th is the date.
So if we did one later on in August, perhaps that was what you're saying.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask Joanne too. If we called an August meeting, would it have to be our regular meeting date, or could we fudge it just as long as we're within the end of the term that would make it a legal meeting?
I would assume you wouldn't have to be stuck with your original meeting dates.
Okay.
We wouldn't have to. Okay.
If we were doing like a special one.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that there was a quorum and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, the meeting would only be held just if we've got an opportunity to, pay off Mark. We wouldn't have to discuss anything else at that particular meeting. It'd just be a special meeting, I would assume.
Yeah, we probably would just go through our regular agenda if there's anything came up, but we could certainly add, that would be the focus, I would think.
Yeah.
That would be after the 19th of August then. Folks, let's do this. Joe and I will talk. We'll try to come up with a date. All right. And then if you would please get back to Joe as soon as you could to say whether that would be an appropriate time for you. Because there's no use us establishing a meeting date if we can't come up with a quorum. All right, so it would be near the end of August sometime. Does anybody right now know that they're going to be away during that time?
I'll be
I
here.
might be.
You might be. Do you know where you're going to be?
No, at this point in time. So I'll
Are you going to be at your cottage, you mean?
more than likely, but the reality could be that I could come home specifically for that.
Well, you don't have to come home. You can do it from your cottage, can't you?
No Wi-Fi.
I thought you had Wi-Fi last year up there. Not anymore. eh?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll give you a time. We'll give you a date. Maybe you can work around it.
Okay, that would work.
If you can't, I think that we can probably still come up with a quorum in that Anna and Tim are pretty regular on meeting attendance, and they will be here at that particular time. All right, and they won't be dealing with the Ontario Land Tribunal anymore. Hopefully by then. Okay, is that all right with you? We'll let you know about a date.
Craig, I don't know for sure. We just haven't been up there at all because of all the issues with my knee and other things. So the idea was to, as soon as I was clear to go, we were going to go.
Okay, well, look, we understand that, but if you can't be here, you can't be here. As long as we have 5 people, we should be okay. Okay. And if the 2 couples who are on the committee both showed up, that's 4 right there. So that's not a problem. Okay. All right. So we'll do that. I'll talk to Joe and we'll get back to you on that one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it for that. Any mail, Joe?
No.
Okay. Round the table. All right, Tom. Got
Well,
that?
we had a day here in Port Robinson a couple of weeks ago at the Strawberry Festival.
Yes.
And the mayor and the mayor was here, so I had a chance to talk to him. And he spoke very kindly about what we do in Port Robinson and future potential doing, endeavors with the tourism committee, tours and that type of thing. And he said anything that he can do to help us, he's more than willing. He really enjoys working with the groups in Port Robinson, and he enjoys our participation, meaning LACAC, and what we do.
Okay, well, that's always good to hear. Joe,
Nothing to add.
Tom? Sorry, not Tom, Mike,
No, nothing right now.
Randy?
Other than perhaps the school bell, I don't know if this is the
Oh,
time
yeah.
to bring it up, but.
Well, why not? That's a good time. Sure, bring it up. Yep.
I received an email some weeks back. Actually, it was forwarded to me through the Thorold Library from the Horticultural Society. I guess they do the gardens around Chestnut Hall. And they noticed that the bolts had been removed from the East Side school bell that were in front of Chestnut Hall. And they were concerned that somebody was thinking about taking the bell. Well, this has happened before. And there's also a general concern. What I've gathered from conversations with people at City Hall, the intention ultimately is once the library is expanded, that the city will look to sever and sell Chestnut Hall. And we're concerned about what's ultimately going to happen to the bell, short-term and long-term. It's a designated feature. It was designated, I think, in 2002 and was sort of attached to the Chestnut Hall site. It's actually was donated to the Thorold Museum in the early 1990s from the Thompson family. And ultimately what we would like to do is make sure that the bell is secure and safe. And what we're thinking at this point is that to put it in some sort of storage until we can either return it to the site, depending on what ultimately happens with Chestnut Hall, or finding another place to display it. But in the meantime, we just want it secured. I spoke with Curtis Dray, and what he suggested was, because right now it sits as part of the designation for Chestnut Hall, they would need to get some sort of a letter from the LACAC to council saying that they're satisfied to see the bell, at least for the time being, removed from the site, and then possibly repurposed at some point, or possibly returned at some point, but right now just secured. So I guess what I'm doing is putting out to LACAC if they would be prepared to make that advice to council and see what happens.
Okay. One thing, it stands alone as a designated object,
Okay.
right? It just happens to be there because they needed someplace to put it. The East Side School, as I understand, was up the hill, up Ormond Street from there?
Yeah, it was on the other side of the road. It wasn't physically that far from the site.
No,
but it wasn't actually on that site.
No, just up the street.
Yeah.
How do you feel about asking city council, through city council, that the bell be secured in another area, another spot where it can be protected? Any input on that, folks?
No, I'd say go with it.
Do that?
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I don't know where that's going to be, Randy, but we can talk about it. Randy.
Well, I can work the details. Like, if you're not concerned, I can work the details out to find a place and negotiate.
Okay, well, look, if you find a place, contact me, and I will, with your permission, folks, I will draft a letter to city council under our heading, that this is what the situation is, and this is where we'd like to see it placed for now, where it's protected. Are we okay with that?
Why not Allenburg Community Center? That's where the collection's being gathered at this point. We can take it there for now.
Okay, would that be okay
Yeah.
with everyone? All
Yeah.
right, so the city would take it to Allenburg Community Center until it can be placed in a safer spot in the future.
Yeah.
Fair enough? Okay,
Sure.
I will write a letter then in that regard to city council, all right? Okay, all right, who did I not ask about around? Joe, did you have anything?
No, nothing to add.
I think we're all set. Well, folks, hopefully we'll have another meeting when we can talk about the website again. And Joe and I will get together, we'll establish the time, probably around the 3rd or 4th week of August would probably be best. Okay? That'll give them enough time to get everything ready. Until then, thanks again. Thank you, Megan, for sitting in with us. We really appreciate it. I'm sure
Thank you.
we'll see a lot more of you in the future.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Thanks again, folks.
Okay,
Care.
take care.